Yeah, that analytical mindset, of course, stays a vital point to be successful in your transition, also when you're a manager. Because when you are a manager, of course, you're dealing with these analysts, with these project managers.
But what changes?
Yeah, then you need to ask these questions. So you need to understand what is the essence of the problem without you being in the details, but understanding very quickly what are now the key questions that I need to ask to assess, is this now a good case or a bad case, but also understand what is now the problem of my project manager, my analyst, to support this person to go further and to be successful in the case that that person.
So it changes from focus on details to an insight into how everything works in the process with everyone working on it.
Yes.
I see.
So you're going from a on-the-ground view, working in it, to a 10,000 feet view, looking at that same problem, but then you need to support from the 10,000 feet, you need to support your project manager, your analyst to be successful.
Yes, being analytical has served me well in the past, especially when it's when looking upon problems, when you start analyzing it in the way you were educated, you break up the problem into certain parts, and you start from the beginning, you go towards the end, and you get a solution, and you, well, at least with your getting things done where you're thinking, you get things done. But when you work further along, that actually also sometimes stops you from getting where you want to go. Because when only thinking analytical, you might not be able to implement the solution you've come up with for the problem. For instance, before I was doing my current, before I was employed at the Ministry of Interior and Kingdom Relations, I was working for the Dutch Delta program. I was program manager for an incentive program for spatial adaptation. And spatial adaptation is, of course, a problem that is new, fairly new, and also a problem that is actually gets to a lot of people. If you want to change something within an inner city, because the biggest problems at this moment are in the inner cities, there's already people living there, people with different interests, people with different ways of thinking the problem should be solved. So you might be able to come up with the technical best solution. But if you just go up to everybody and say, okay, well, I figured it out, this is the best solution, we're going, you won't be able to implement the solution, because that's not the way it works. When you look at a completely complex system of different authorities, because it's different governmental authorities, water boards, etc., but also just normal people, businesses, everybody together at one place where you have to solve the problem. So technical solution might not be, even if it's the technical optimal solution, it might not be the optimal solution for the situation.
So I guess learning as an adult goes very much through doing. And so I guess the learning came in two ways for me. One is, it is of course more senior colleagues who kind of help you along the way and say, have you also looked at that part of the problem and that part of the problem? The second is actually the clients you work with, so the people that sort of you interact with. In general, you would say the stakeholders, the external environment. Because they will ask you questions that you hadn't thought about yourself, which are very analytical questions, but they're just questions you haven't thought about. And so you, by going out there, you are forced to sharpen your own analytical mindset in your words. And I guess the third is your own experience. Is because you are trying to solve a problem, you get curious, you're trying to understand and what's going on next. And through that combination of colleagues, external stakeholders, and your own learning, I think that's where you kind of get better at your analytical mindset. Yeah, you develop. You develop, and you actually understand that it's a very powerful tool that we as engineers have to solve problems. But the biggest risk is that we think about the world in a sort of too black and white state. And that's nothing bad about the analytical mindset. It's just there is a lot of analysis you can do. And so if you think about why does someone not take a certain decision, sometimes it is because there's a very good reason why this government entity or this company is behaving in a certain way. Because have you even understood their financials? Have you understood what their problems are? So analytical mindset for me is also trying to understand what are others doing, why are they doing it, and what are they really telling me? This is all analytics. Yep. Even if you think about the new world of big data and analytics, the use of a word cloud, the use of kind of looking through the internet or through someone's own statements and say, what are they really saying? What's the word that really comes out? That helps you. That's another analytical tool that helps you to understand others. So for me, that is a very rich arena to play with, where we as engineers come well equipped, but be careful not to be too constrained. So should education focus on more broadening of the analytical mindset? I think yes and no. So first of all, I think it is important that we are able to solve the smaller problems well. That's a learning that you have to have in any case. And it's important to kind of go deep and really understand the different tools that we have, whether it's data analytics, whether it is certain sort of types of assessment. Once you get that, then of course it is useful to do more, let's say, case study type work, a project type of work, so you can see the full complexity of the world, so that you get used to, let's say, breaking down a big problem into small pieces, but then are able to kind of put it all back together again. Which is even something when I was a student at TB 20 years ago, 25 years ago, we already started doing. And if anything, I think in the real world, it is even a lot more complex, but it's a very useful skill to have.